Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and to the final video of the Bridge Too Far campaign. So we'll have a little recap on the campaign map, and we'll have a look at the strategic overview as well to see how it ends. We'll then have a little conclusion, so we will hear from the Allied and Axis commanders on how they felt the campaign went and how it could be improved, and then I'll have my say, and then we'll see why you've tuned in for to see the final score and see who's finally won the Bridge Too Far campaign. Okay, so this is what the table looks like at the end of the campaign. Sorry for the little sheen here. The sun is rising. So the battles we had today, definite swing in the campaign in this half. Battle 1 at Nijmegen Bridge. The British won an 8-1 Allied victory, capturing 1 tank and 1 infantry team in the process, as well as the 50 points from the bridge. Battle 2 at Arnhem Bridge. With some dodgy dice in terms of the defender, the Allies won a 6-3 victory and have taken 60 points in the form of Arnhem Bridge, no casualties either side. Battle 3 at Grave Bridge. Desperate attempt, the Germans trying to take this bridge, unfortunately failed with a 6-3 Allied victory. The Allied Firestorm unit there was destroyed, as well as the 9th SS Armoured Panzer Grenadier Division trying to assault it as well. Battle 4 at Schertenbosch. The Allies won a 7-2 victory, no casualties, but took 10 points taking that bridge. Battle 5, the last game I played, Turnhout Bridge. The Germans pulled off an 8-1 German victory. No casualties either side, but managed to regain 6 points. In the final game of the round, the Allies attacked Mass Bridge, but the Germans repelled the attack with a 6-3 German victory, thus keeping the points. So there we have it. The campaign is done. So we'll have a look at the scores. Well, first of all, we'll hear from the British German commanders on their thoughts, what they think they could have done different, particularly hard points, tricky points as well throughout the campaign. Obviously, this last round, I think Tom had to hold at least one of these bridges, or both of the bridges, to claim the victory, but it was very slow, left it late. I think this is a very sweaty goal, basically, in terms of football, to clinch this one. So we'll hear from Tom and Lucas, and I'll give my input on what I thought of the overall campaign, and then we'll have a look at the final scores, and you can have your say. Okay, so this is the strategic overview map. So basically, green dots is areas with Allied Firestorm units. Amber is Allied controlled areas. Red is German Firestorm units, and all the uncolored spaces are still in German control. So I'll leave this on for a minute or so you can have a quick little look, and now we'll hear from the commanders and myself. Okay, so first up we have Lucas, the Allied command.
So, on the campaign, what to say? Well done, first of all, to all the Allied players who played under my command. You all did a fantastic job, especially in that last round. We'd managed to keep ourselves in the game. It did feel like we were slightly losing, certainly throughout the early portion when we struggled to take Eindhoven and struggled with some of the parachute rifle battles and the paras and the British paras all getting mopped up by millions of half tracks, but we held it together, we persevered, and then we had a stonking last round to kind of clutch victory, not from the jaws of defeat. I think we were in an okay position, but certainly to take it much more confidently than maybe we could have or should have, given the situation we were in. Thoughts on the campaign overall? It was a brilliant experience. I love putting historical lists together. I love looking at what was actually there, what was actually available to the commanders at the time. I think the Firestorm units certainly helped with that. They let you build a force around a historical encounter rather than just, whacking 100 points down either side. Personally, I think it's a great way to play Flames. It really kind of enriches the battles for me. It kind of makes the results more meaningful, which I really love. Obviously, a big shout out to Tom and all the German players for just providing so much entertainment throughout the whole campaign. It was really fun to do. Rules-wise, I think the campaign's pretty tight. The Battlefront have produced, pardon me. I think it's important to tweak things, though. I think we learned quite early on after the initial sort of round that chucking isolated paratroopers at hordes of brigade or mechanized German infantry was just never going to work, and we had to do a bit of rehashing there. With providing some sort of balance towards isolated paras attacking. There were some other rulings that kind of, as we got later in the campaign, became a bit apparent. I think Tom might mention this, but there was a bit of annoyance towards sort of the randomness maybe of German units. The fact they could change from battle to battle, I would maybe not bother with. Just once they're generated, keep them in. I think things like the British defence units certainly for the German side, but maybe for both sides, and the security section for the Germans, not counting towards reserves would be a good thing, just because it makes them slightly more interesting for list building. It's not the case where if they're one of your Firestorm units, you're pretty much going to use them as reserves because they're kind of useless on the table. But those are really kind of minor niggles. I think that the product that Battlefront has put out is pretty good. The map's obviously lovely. It's great to fight over real locations. It's great to kind of relive that history. And I just had a fantastic time commanding. And I hope that anyone who played and anyone who's watched us play has had a fantastic time too. Cheers. This is Lucas signing off for the Allies. Well done, chaps. What an excellent campaign.
Okay, now we have Tom, German Command.
Final review. Yeah, unfortunately, disappointing for the Germans at the end. Just losing the critical battles there in the last round. At the end of round 4, I did notice one bit of dice rolling that went against me in the campaign that I thought would lead to this cataclysm of key defeats, and that was with the capture of Groesbeck Heights. Even though I think it was either a 7-1 or 7-2 victory to the Germans, we lost the Firestorm King Tiger. And then that opened up the opportunities for Lucas to use an exploitation move with some paratroopers. And then from there, that basically meant that it allowed attacks onto key territories, so Nijmegen and I think it was Maasvlakte Canal, Maasvlakte Canal. But also it cut off supplies from one channel. And then the only thing that needed to happen then was if Lucas could then get the right air interdiction rolls to cut off the other supply chains. And so then, unfortunately, that was like the first domino that led to cut-offs from key reinforcement pools, supplies. And then the Allies just winning key battles. So a bit disappointing, really, because I thought the Germans had the Allies cooped up for a lot of the campaign. I think we had a lot of luck in the beginning in terms of the initial battles going our way around Eindhoven and such. We also did very well at scooping up several paratroopers in the beginning, but I wasn't able to manoeuvre the Firestorm units I needed to get or to prevent further paratroop breakouts, and again a couple of battles not going quite our way. So I think some sub-commanders need to learn how to kill paratroopers, because I'm not going to lie, I didn't have that much of a difficulty. But no, seriously, it was good fun. I really enjoyed how the campaign developed. It got really exciting once Lucas got a breakthrough, and we saw a lot of fighting around Maasvlakte Canal, Grave Bridge, Gruspec Heights. You know, it's a lot of attacks and counter-attacks around that area. I tried to lead some attacks around to retake Eindhoven at one stage, or to try cut off roads, but that required a lot of consecutive victories to go our way. But yeah, it was really fun. I know the lads at Bathgate really enjoyed playing it and really got into your character of playing certain roles. I think besides of what I could have done a bit better, I think firstly, just for a balance point of view, I think when we were doing isolated battles, i.e. paratroopers behind enemy lines, we could have balanced the games more in the beginning. So rather than letting the Germans have kind of like unhindered armyless construction, restricting that, and we came to that conclusion from like round 2, maybe from the first or second half, I can't remember. But I think if we did that, and I think if you played at a slightly smaller point scale, so maybe either 60 or 80 points, that extra Firestorm paratrooper unit that the Allies would have in most of those games would have been more impactful. And therefore, attacking paratroopers particularly would have had a much better chance at taking some ground in the beginning. What else? Yeah, balance purposes, I'd preferred it if the Germans knew what their Firestorm units were before you had to commit them. I think that was a bit crap, because a lot of the time you get infantry counters only to find out that they're security troops, which are really pretty pointless. For the most part, they can't even, game-wise, they can't even do anything. Where all the Allied tokens are what they represent. So the Allied commander knows exactly what he's got at what stage. So I thought, you know, certain Firestorm units could have been a bit, from a German point of view anyway, a bit more clarification on what they are. Certain Firestorm units are a bit meh. For example, 2 Brigade Panthers, they're very, very tricky to use. The thought 3 would have been ideal, really. Other than that, what else could have we done? I think in the early rounds, maybe rounds 2 and 3, could have been perhaps a bit more aggressive. Try to take ground a bit more. Basically, you know, once he broke through the centre and the right flank, just try to retake that ground a bit more consecutively. But a lot of the time, you have to direct Firestorm units in key areas in apprehension of not winning initiative rolls and things like that. And I think occupying the extreme right flank around the Gruspec Heights, and I think Elder Road or Heidler Road, I think it is, occupying those areas quicker to prevent paratrooper breakouts and what eventually happened. But yeah, great campaign, and we're very much up for doing another one in the future. And thanks for everyone for taking part.
Okay, so that's both commanders done. So now we go on to my little bit. I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone who took part in the campaign. So obviously, especially Lucas and Tom, but the members of Bathgate, you really helped me out getting lots of these games done. And then there's people all over the place doing games. We did have Lack of Foresight with Jacob doing one game, but obviously they're fully committed with the other place. Charlie over in Georgia in the States has played plenty of games, and we had a few people down in Australia as well playing. So pretty much all the corners covered there with that lot. But again, thank you everyone who took part. And it does feel a little bit more fun when a game means something, and having the chance to build historical lists, which is nice as well with the Firestorm units. Now onto the campaign itself. Some areas I think could have done with a little bit more thought. Some ambiguity I think about the aircraft units. I I think where and when you can use them a bit more, but like we kind of got a hang of using them as more interdiction and stopping supply routes. We got that one, but actually using them in the game, I feel could be a bit better. For the British, I added a little bit more flavour to the Firestorm units because otherwise it was just Shermans. But obviously these represent various different divisions, not just the Guards and your brigade units, but the 11th Armoured and the 7th Armoured. So I marked up those units so we could use more tanks representing them. So the Guards, I added the Unflappable card. For the 11th, they had Cromwells and Challengers, and for the 7th, Desert Rats, Cromwells and Fireflies. Didn't know so much about the Germans other than we knew it was the 9th SS Division quite a lot, and most of those units were quite fairly represented quite well anyway. Onto the randomization of tank, AA and Firestorm units. Yes, I do agree with Tom. Maybe once the campaign starts and they get committed to their first game, maybe they stick with that then, but obviously you'll have to mark them up just to make sure you keep it. I suppose putting a number on the base of the plastic unit might help. I think 3 Brigade Panthers would be, I wouldn't begrudge that to my opponent. That's only, what, 20 points, I think. 2 is a bit silly. You lose 1 in your last standing. It's not going to last long with them then. But yeah, very enjoyable campaign. I enjoy all the Firestorm campaigns that Flames of War have done. I'm looking forward to doing the next one. Would like them to do sets like these to update them a little bit more for version 4. And just to put that little extra flavour, you know, into them would be quite interesting. And one thing that this Firestorm campaign didn't have that other ones did have, you can't play all the games, like which is the case of this campaign. Usually about 1 or 2 games each round I had to auto-resolve. Now there's nothing in this campaign to auto-resolve, but in the Gazala campaign and a D-Day campaign that they did, there was. So basically I used bits of both of them to have a fair approach to auto-resolving. Could have done with it this time, but yes, in future campaigns, if you make sure, well, if anyone from Flames of War is listening, make sure you have that auto-resolve in there, because then you can actually play it as like a big board game of Risk without actually playing Flames of War. I think my friend might actually do that, because this is like a massive game of Risk, or the campaign map in Total War. You know, you move your pieces around and they meet each other and then you have your battle. But yes, it was a very fun campaign. I hope you enjoyed, and now we will finally see the final scores and the campaign outcome.